Welcome everybody, this is Brothermutant here. Today we're going to talk about how to make an elemental build. So this is the Elemental Bloodline. In my case I went air. It's not the only one I like quite a few of them, matter of fact, but let's actually talk a little bit about the differences too before we start talking about the similarities. So for instance, at level 15 you'll see that if you're air elemental, then you get this immunity to grapple, entangle, slow, and difficult terrain. Yes, that's reasonably late in the game, but not so late that you'll never see it. And it is actually pretty useful. Now this includes things like web spells, fairly certain that grease spells will be immune to. Difficult terrain can be things like the after effect of an ice storm. So you can plan for this or have other teammates plan for it, and therefore you can be in the center of that mess and not really have to worry about it so much. Now this is unique to me being an air elemental. If I was fire, instead of all that wonderful goodness, I would get a plus 30 to my speed movement, flat. So instead of 30, I'd be running around at a 60. And that's cool. I mean, it's the equivalent of Expeditious Retreat on permanently, and it doesn't stack with Expeditious Retreat or Haste, so that's, I guess, something. So it saves me of a spell pick, but it's still one of those where it's kind of like, really, man? But okay, again, it is different. Water, one of my favorites, and those people that literally say that Water Elemental Bloodline is probably the tank go-to, and it's probably for this reason. Their bonus is an immunity to combat maneuvers. That includes things like Bull Rush, Trip, which is an amazing immunity, and then other things like Sunder Armor and blah blah blah. But the point is, it really then makes you feel more tanky. So it makes sense. Oddly, and this is the weird one that I can't explain, Earth gets nothing. Not one buff at level 15 at all. I don't know why. Probably because they do acid damage, and acid in this game is OP, so maybe that's the reason, but I can't really explain it other than that. Everybody, of course, gets this immunity to whatever element they're associated with. Immunity to sneak attacks and crits at level 20. Now I will not get this, sadly, and why is that? Because I'm actually going to take this at one level monk dip, as I know that is cheese beyond all par excellence, but I really like the ability to do that, and there is a couple of reasons for doing it in this build because of things like Elemental Body 1, 2, and 3 that we all get. Level 2 is decent, level 3 is okay, level 1 just straight up sucks. And these literally make your armor drop off you. So if you're relying on that leather or that chainmail or that plate armor, and you cast either of these spells, you're basically going to screw your armor class crazy. So that is not a penalty for my charisma bonus that I'll get for armor thanks to being a Scale Fist Monk, or my massive dex bonus, because this is going to be a dex-based build. Now you'll see that means my DC checks are going to be kind of lackluster. That may not be your forte. If you wanted to change it up, then feel free to push this to 18, keep this at 16, and push this 18 up to 22. If that's still not strong enough for you, then you can drop your con down to 10 and push that charisma all the way to 19. Put every point then in charisma as you level up, and you'll actually reach 24. That's pretty damn good, and there's ways to improve it beyond that, which we'll show you because it's going to be important. Notice that you get, for either of your elements, you get an elemental ray spell-like effect. This is a single target ray beam that you shoot off that does, in my case, electric damage. It's okay, it's not amazing, but it's free, might as well use it. And I have the dex-based build for it. We'll also get a big AoE effect, kind of like a fireball, sort of, but it's more like a pillar of fire, pillar of acid, pillar of whatever element we're talking about. And you get one of those at level 9, one at 17, and one again at level 20. So you'll get 3, I'll get only 2. But it hits hard, and it's actually quite cool. And it is a spell as far as the game is concerned. So when you turn into these little elemental bastard forms that I hate, you can't cast spells. That includes your little ray beam here and your spell-like effect here, which is kind of a bummer. But more on that later. Notice we become resistant to our elemental damage at level 3, and even more so at level 20. Or sorry, at 9. We become immune at level 20. That's nice. Electric isn't the most useful one of the group. I'd say probably fire or acid would be the top 2. But cold is useful too, and again, it's free, so why complain about it? But another thing that we'll all get is free spells, and besides these 3 crappy ones, we get a good one in protection from energy, and that is reasonably unique to us. I mean, there's another class that gets either resist energy or something similar, but protection from energy is nice, and again, it's hidden normally behind a wall of level 19 free spell picks. So that's, again, pretty damn cool. And again, just because you're resistant to electricity in level a DR10 or a DR20, that doesn't mean you're immune. So if they're really whooping up with some decent electric damage, you may want to still cast this on yourself or your teammates and buff yourself with some protection from electric or fire, sonic, whatever you choose. Notice, of course, we also get 2 free spells. Now, these are slight modifications of spells in most cases. Burning Hands Electricity and Scorching Ray Electricity is just like it sounds. They do electric damage. And because we're giving them free, this is not the same as Burning Hands, as you'll see. And I say that because it does electric damage, 1, and 2, the descriptor changes from fire to actually electric, and that's going to be important. This one, of course, it doesn't matter that the descriptor is electric because there's no saving throw, so that doesn't matter. But for when we talk about DC checks now, a lot of people be like, well, you're an elemental air guy, right? So you do electric damage for your spells. You should probably go elemental focus electric, right? I'm still going to say no, and we'll see why when we actually get into the build when I start talking about the spells. But it'll become important later, trust me on that. Now, of course, we get our nice little class skill and mobility. We probably would get that for Monk anyway, but you get it for free. I'll get it again for this, and then of course we'll have access to it because of Monk, and that will be important to me because I need to at least put 3 points in it to get some fighting defensively buffs for myself. But this is an extremely loose build, extremely flexible in my opinion, and therefore open to that DC type potential of spell focus, greater spell focus, elemental focus, greater elemental focus that you may want to go with. So let's actually get into it, shall we? I'm going to level up. I went human for the free feat. I get weapon finesse, and then of course dodge. I figured, what the hell, if I'm going to be a dodger type, might as well get the extra dodge feat up front. Weapon finesse for obvious reasons. You can go other races. I'm not saying you can't. Tiefling made sense, so does ascertain. If you really worry about your spells landing because of spell resistance, which is a viable thing, go elf. They get an inherent +2 to their spell pen, which can stack with spell penetration and greater spell penetration if you so choose. Or not. Up to you. Notice, of course, again, I will not get True Magus, but you guys will, and therefore you could have better attack bonus than me, you can have better spell pen than me, you can have a higher DC than me because of that too. So another reason to go straight True Magus. Again, I just don't like having to wear the armor and then having 3 spells that I will probably never use then because my armor is impeding me from switching into these forms. If I switch into those forms, I don't get to use my armor. I get screwed effectively that way. So that's the reason for the Monk Dip. I'll do Monk Dip, by the way, at level 3. So we're going to go Magus for 2 levels. And I'll explain the spell picks and what they mean as we do things. But since this is a solo build my way, you need to focus on a few things. A, you need to have a good touch armor class points, which we will have thanks to our Monk Dip. We will invest in trickery at every opportunity. Same with perception. I'll level this off probably around a +15 or +20 and call it good, and then start dipping into other stuff. But by and large, that's important. Perception's important, and persuasion is important if you're going to be soloing more often than not. We will be able to invest in that. Now, I'd still need mobility to get to 3, and I probably will, since I want to make all the athletics checks for that cheap XP boast to myself, I'll probably invest in things like athletics as well. I'll even involve myself into Arcana, World, and even Religion, thanks to my Monk Dip. Just a point in each of them, just to unlock them so much. And same with Use Magic Device. We'll put enough in it to be reasonably useful, but not so much that it's going to be like, wow, you got +20 in there? No, we're not. We're going to get like +10, +15 if we're lucky. So that's going to be a thing. Now let's talk about spell picks, because you may think, well, you're electric, so pick all the electric stuff. Well, yes, that is true. However, there's a feat that we get at level 1 that no one really talks about, and it's not anywhere described in your class description. So let's describe it for you here. So this is your Elemental Bloodline Arcana. This allows me to turn any spell that does damage into electric damage in most cases. It doesn't work on every spell, and some spells get kind of glitchy, but I'll explain them as we go level up. But this is my way of basically suddenly turning a fireball spell into an electric spell. Now, having said that, the descriptor is still fire. Because the descriptor's fire, if I want the DC bump to go higher, then I need to get elemental focus, fire, or greater elemental focus, fire, not electric. This only works on spells that are electric, and the electric spells in this game that have saves are things like Chain Lightning. Our Burning Hands electricity version that we're getting for free will be electric. It says so in the descriptor, so it will work for that. But the Scorching Ray electric doesn't have a save, so it doesn't help it or hurt it in any way, shape, or form. but we'll have other spells too besides Chain Lightning. Shocking Grasp is not a saving throw spell, so again, just because it's electric damage doesn't help it at all. But there's like Dragon's Breath, where it's electric, will help. There's another one in there. I just can't think off the top of my brain, but there's a few that are electric. There's like 4 that are electric, 3 that are acid, a decent smattering that are cold spells, and by and large the rest of them are going to be fire, which is why I still say if you're going to go acid, cold, or in my case air or electric damage, still pick up elemental focus fire. Or if you're not a big fan of going with the flavor of the month, go cold. That's the second best choice you have. And you're going to pick quite a few spells that are cold anyway, so this is going to be to your benefit. Yes, they'll do electric damage if you have your little toggle on, but it's still going to key off of it being a cold spell, so why not buff that DC? So if that's your thing and DC is your bread and butter, feel free to do that, but know that, again, it's not really like you would think, where suddenly you're going to be doing electric spells all the time. You're probably not. There's still good electric spells like Chain Lightning being an amazing one, but again, not really worth investing in my opinion, but up to you. Having said that, let's get back to our Magus build. From there, again, remember we're getting this one for free, but the electric version. So if you want the fire version, the one with a fire descriptor in it, you need to pick it. So it's perfectly fine. You notice there's no thumbs down on this one. For those that are the fire elementals, because they're just boring people, quite frankly, and like to do fire damage, and there's plenty of fire spells, hey, do that thing. But they will get this for free, and they'll get the Scorching Ray, the normal version, for free, because it's the fire version. So they're bland in that they get the spells that we're going to get, but we're going to get the electric versions, or the acid, or the cold. Now if I pick this up, then I can do like them. I can do fire damage, or I can do electric damage, so you can see the appeal. I'm not going to pick it because it seems kind of silly, since I'm getting the electric version, but if I wanted to, I could do that. The one I am going to pick is Snowball. And why? Because this one can be turned into electric damage too, or acid, or fire, or whatever we're talking about. But the point is much like Shocking Grasp for the same amount of damage, at range now, I can increase the damage thanks to point blank shot, and my chance to hit thanks to point blank shot. And there's a save associated with it, but not a save like you think. A, it's a fortitude save, and B, the fortitude save, even if they make it, doesn't lessen the damage, it just lessens the chance of them being staggered. So that's still better than Shocking Grasp then. And then you go in from there, and the fact that you notice that there is no spell resistance. That's going to be very important when you start looking at your spells. Literally, is there a spell save? No. Yes. Is there spell resistance? No. Yes. That's going to change your opinion a lot. Shocking Grasp is still a great spell. We'll still channel it through our weapon. It's going to be amazing, trust me. But this is still cool for that reason, that if I'm missing because their spell resistance is too high and I just don't have the ability to penetrate it, Snowball doesn't have that problem. I just need to make sure to hit them. You see what I'm saying? That's why you're going to look at spells a lot different. So we're going to grab Snowball. I'm going Monk now just to get that Scale Fist Monk out of the way. And at level 3 makes sense to me because we're also going to get a feat, so I'm cool with that. So here's Scale Fist bonus feat. Notice we'll get Flurry of Blows with our unarmed strikes, or our monk weapons, which includes things like Quarterstaff, you're probably not going to pick, Kama, which you might pick, Sai, you might pick, and even Nunchaku, which again you might pick, because those last 3 are flurryable, just and finessable as well. So that weapon finesse comes in handy. Quarterstaff, you can't finesse it, therefore we're keying off of our strength, and we're not a strength-based build. Doesn't mean you can't use a Quarterstaff. Doesn't mean you can't use a Quarterstaff and flurry it. You will still do all those things. You just won't be as good as you would be if you did Kama or Sai or Nunchaku or your fists. That's why I'm going to stick with probably those. And again, just because those are flurryable doesn't mean I can't equip a rapier if the rapier just happens to be awesome, or a kukri, or any other weapon that I'm skilled in. I just don't get Flurry of Blows extra attack because of that. So just be aware of that. So we're going to pick Monk, Scaled Fist for the Charisma bonus to our armor class. Notice a bunch of stuff opens up as well, including things like Stealth. We want Trickery, we want Perception, and you notice we do need Mobility to at least 3, so that when we fight defensively, we get another +1 to our armor. And I'm going to stop at 3. I'm not, no reason for me to take it any higher. From there, I'm going to start investing in all these ones that need to be unlocked. And again, for my free Monk feat, which is this guy right here, You'll notice that we get all kinds of stuff. Notice I can even do dragon style even though I don't have a strength of 15. That's the beauty of the free monk feats. Now I'm not going that route. I'm just letting you know that there's other stuff that could have shown up in here that if you didn't have a high dexterity or a dodge, for instance, already picked, you could still pick it. So remember, I picked dodge early. But remember, I'm human, so I get an extra feat. If you wanted to go monk and still get crane style, feel free to pick it up early and just get dodge later. Or never pick it up. That's fine. You don't have to have it, is the point. But I figured, what the hell, I want to be tanky, so I'm grabbing dodge. But I'm definitely grabbing crane style, and all the crane feats associated with it. The other two will be up 7 and 11 is my soonest that I can pick up either of them up. I'll definitely take them. For this one here, I don't mind picking up things like point blank shot, weapon focus, arcane strike, blind fighting. Remember, you don't want to get flat-footed at all. That's a good one. Combat reflexes is the one we're going to go with, but I want to show you some others. This is because of our high dexterity and the fact that we're going to go solo. I don't want to miss out on attacks of opportunity. This is even more, so that's nice. Other things, though... Oh, actually, I take that back. I don't want combat reflexes. I want deflect arrows. The ability to just straight up bat an arrow out of the sky, so long as I'm aware of the attack. Every combat round is nice and tanky. We will get combat reflexes next time, but that's a really nice ability. Elemental focus, of course, and spell focus we'll talk about, of course, when we have that opportunity. Improved initiative is amazing. Meta magics are amazing. Piranha strike, we will get that a little bit later, but still definitely worth picking up. And again, you could go spell pen if that's the thing you're worried about. Two-weapon fighting and toughness. Toughness I could see getting, but I'm not going to. Two-weapon fighting, again, I could see getting, but I'm not going to, because remember, I have flurry of blows. You can't flurry if you're two-weapon wielding, so that's the thing. But that don't mean you can't go. Remember, it's a dex-based build, so if it's your thing and you want 6 attacks in a round by the end of your level 20 build, you can totally still do that. I'm not saying you can't. So comma, 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 psi, comma. You can't do comma in unarmed strike, by the way. But the point is you can do a lot of cool stuff with two-weapon fighting. I'm not going to do it because flurry of blows is enough for me. If it's not enough for me, I'll buff myself with haste. If that's not enough to go from 4 attacks to 5 attacks a round by level 20, then I'll turn on transmutation power spell and literally give them up from 4 to 5 to 6 now attacks a round with 1 weapon, and I don't have any penalty associated with that swing. Gotta love it. But it's up to you. We won't be going for like rapid shot or deadly aim or anything weird like that. But again, there's plenty of stuff that you could pick that I'm not even going to discuss. But again, I really like the tankiness of deflect arrows, so we're going to go that way. Now we go back to Magus and never leave it. I'm going to go 1 into con just to get that HP bump and the fortitude bump right now. And then from there, the next 4 points are going all into dexterity. And again, always perception, almost always trickery. We'll probably take this to probably around a plus 15 to a plus 20, deciding on how I feel. And then we'll start dumping into like persuasion, which again is going to be another amazing ability. But I want to at least unlock world and religion as well. For here, if I was a DC-based character, which means high charisma-based build, I would go Wand Mastery, Wand Wielder, or Arcane Accuracy are all valid options. But because I don't get a high charisma, Wand Mastery makes no sense, neither does Arcane Accuracy. And if Wand Mastery doesn't make any sense, I'm probably not going Wand Wielder. For me, then buffs are going to be important, therefore extended magic is my pick. Again, just to go over the spells, because I didn't really talk about them in great detail. Burning Hands I can turn into electricity, even if I pick it. Yes, I know I have this free one. See how the spell descriptor is electricity? If I pick this one, you see how the descriptor is actually fire. So I can do fire damage, leave this toggle on, switch it to basically doing electric damage, but with the fire saving throw. See what I did there? So I don't have to use this one. It's free and I'll take it. But this is the electricity one, so the only one that benefits this would be evocation for spell focus, or electricity for elemental focus. Again, there's not many electricity powers. So if you wanted to do that and get a buff, chances are, again, you're going evocation and fire. And again, I can still turn this into electricity damage, just leave that toggle running, and I'll still get the buffs to my DC check. Again, I'm not going to do that. Corrosive Touch is another one, though, that you can convert the damage. Again, it's lackluster compared to Shocking Grasp. The only way I can think of making this a possible pick, and it's only possibly, notice how Corrosive Touch is a conjuration spell, and it scales with level. So if at level 1 as a human you decided you wanted to be a magus that had spell focus conjuration and spell specialization conjuration, you could cast this as a 3rd level caster at level 1, which means you're doing 3d4 damage. That's technically better damage than Shocking Grasp at level 1 for you, because that would only be doing 1d6 electric damage. So that would be a thing, but rapidly you would outlevel it, and then Shocking Grasp would overtake it. So I can't see picking this still. And if you really wanted to do acid damage, just be an earth elemental and use Shocking Grasp with your toggle on. Suddenly that electric damage will turn into acid damage, and it will be cool, and you will love it. But I'm just pointing out that this does work. I could turn this into electric damage or fire or cold. You get the idea. Also, Magic Missile, which we will pick eventually. We're not picking it now, but we will pick it. It doesn't work. It stays force damage, so there's no changing this one. So that's fine. I'm not unhappy with that. I'm just saying that's a thing. And that's the only ones that we have to talk about for damage so far for level 1. I'm going to grab Reduced Person because A, I need the extra armor. B, I like the extra dexterity for my chances to hit. Remember, I'm a weapon finesser, and I do ray attacks, so both those things benefit from dexterity. So this is a good spell pick for me. Eventually, I'll probably even get Expeditious Retreat, because I'm not fire, and I don't get that free movement booking speed. And that is more helpful than you think, especially if you're solo. Now, we get to open up level 2 spells. Now, these ones, again, I'm not going to talk about them, you'll just see me putting them in there. But again, know the trickery is almost always going up. Eventually I'll stop. I'll always put Perception, and then we're going to do our best to try to get Persuasion in on this. But here's Lore Religion just to unlock it, and Use Magic Device just to unlock it. We will put more in Use Magic Device. We'll probably even put a little bit in Arcana eventually. Oh, and I'll even put one into Stealth just to be a jerk. But Lore Nature, I mean, really, it's a +1. Yes, it unlocks the ability to use it, but you're never going to make that check. You would have to scum save forever to make that check. And I wouldn't do it. It's just silly. So I probably won't invest in it. From here, always check to make sure you don't have your crane abilities. But again, I know they come at 7 and 11, so you don't have to worry. But this is where the flexibility comes in. Again, Point Blank Shot is an option. Arcane Strike is an option. But you remember what I said I wanted last time and I couldn't take it? Combat Reflexes. Here's my option. Now level 2 spells that are weird. Here's Acid Arrow. Yes, I can convert the strike to doing electric damage, which means fire and cold therefore works too. However, it's only the first hit, and then it ticks, tick, ticks. The tick, tick, ticks after the first round go back to being acid, just so we're clear. Why do I bring this up to you? Because an Acid Arrow is kind of a piss attack anyway, right? But notice something. We're getting this one for free. Yes, it's the electric version, but we're getting it for free. And this one has no spell resistance. So while this one, I could hit you, it could do absolutely nothing. This one, I hit you, it's going to do something unless you're resistant to acid and or acid. So at least this one has some utility. Now I'm not picking it yet. I'm just pointing this out to you. Frigid Touch works. Again, I convert it to electric damage. And again, while you may say, well, Shocking Grasp is better, or will be, so why would you even pick this spell? Again, electric damage still, no saving throw. Yes, there's still spell resistance, but there was with Shocking Grasp, and because there's no saving throw, that staggered effect is going to land. Now, yes, they could be immune to it. Yes, spell resistance could be a thing. But you see the utility here? I can still do electric or cold damage, and why do I say that as being important? Would you ever use Frigid Touch on the undead in this game? No. Why? Because they're immune to cold, Brothermutant. Not anymore, because now I can turn it to electric damage, baby, and now I have a use for Frigid Touch again. You see what I just did there? That's what I'm saying. I'm going to grab that one, and I'm going to grab Blur. Remember, I want to be tanky. Keep going, Magus. Now everything's unlocked that I want to unlock, and again, I'll focus on Perception, mostly Trickery, and any chance I can, Persuasion with a little bit and Use Magic Device. Here, Crane. Not yet. Next level. So now I can pick what I want. Do I want Point Blank Shot? Do I want to not have to worry about being caught flat-footed because someone's invisible? You better damn believe it, because flat-footed screws this build huge. So at least Blind Fight somewhere in the build is necessary, in my opinion. Level 2. Going from area, and again, see I got Scorching Ray. Notice again, it's electricity descriptor, not that it matters, because again, unless they're immune to electricity. That would suck. It's the same exact spell as this one for damage, just a different damage type. But if you wanted to have that fire option, you can still pick it. This is where the fire bloodline gets screwed. Yes, they get it for free, but that's all they get. I have 2 ways of casting it. They only have the one. And yes, I can still cast this and leave my toggle on if I forget, and it will do electric damage. I have tested it, but this is basically the same as this then. So, yeah, why bother? It looks different, but again, it behaves in the same way as this one at that point. I am going to pick Mirror Image though, because again, I want to have that tanky feel to my character. Now, we have Crane Wing. You want it as soon as possible. This is the soonest you could pick this up. Him behind the wall of that base attack bonus 5. Now we have that, now we get it. For this stuff, again, plenty of good stuff in here. Prescient Attack is still an option. Empowered Magic's not bad, but you know me, I want to endure my fists, or my Kama, or my Sai, or whatever weapon I pick up that I decide to use. Still helpful. I should point out that while Acid Arrow has that initial tick of electric damage, and then acid after that, Molten Orb does the same thing, where I can use it, and yes, it will do electric damage, or acid or cold, depending on your elemental background, but only in the initial hit, and the AoE splash that surrounds that hit. Then when they set on fire, it's fire damage, fire, fire, fire. Notice though, again, if I were to pick this one, notice that the spell descriptor is fire, and it's an evocation spell. You see what I'm saying? DC checks. Just because it's acid or cold or electric because of your background doesn't mean the spell descriptor changed. So go for that elemental focus fire. Go for that evocation spell focus, right? Because again, you're going to use a lot of evocation spells if DC checks are important to you. They aren't to me, and I don't particularly like this spell, so I'm not going to pick it. Web makes a good case here. Remember, I will be immune to that. Stone Call does damage, but by the way, you can't convert that damage. It's bludgeoning damage. It stays bludgeoning, so you can't be elementaling that one up, so don't worry about it. Glitter Dust is still important, and I will still make a case for Effortless Armor. Remember, while I am a monk, and I get all that monkey goodness for armor, that doesn't mean there won't be times where having plate armor will be better than being a monk. So keep that better armor on you every now and again. You will come into a fight, you go, well, I'm not going to have touch attacks to worry about. Maybe I want the plate armor on now. Put that plate armor on. Effortless Armor will help you with that. But you don't have to, and I'm not going to. I will, however, go for Acid Arrow. And again, Scorching Ray is great. I'm not saying it isn't. But I already have this one, and I really think that I can probably pick that up later. I'm probably going to get Web and probably get Scorching Ray. If I don't feel like Scorching Ray matters because I already have this one, another valid option again is Glitter Dust. So that gives you a couple more utility spells that you would normally not have. And notice how Glitter Dust is Conjuration, Web is Transmutation, and again, that's why I say you don't have to be an Evoker. Hell, even Acid Arrow, even though there's no saving throw. Acid Arrow is a Conjuration spell. We're going to have plenty of spells that are Conjuring spells, plenty that are Evocation spells. So again, they're going to be all over the place for the spell focus. You just don't have to pick Evocation. I'm just pointing out that there's options. Going. All Dexterity now. I'm going to grab Magic Missile. Oh wait, actually I take that back. I will get Magic Missile eventually, but I'm going to get the Expeditious Retreat. I do like being zippy. Here, level 3 stuff. Now we have Fireball, that does work. We can convert that to acid or cold or electric, depending on your bloodline. Lightning Bolt also works, so you can do that. Weirdly, so does Vampiric Touch, and it does unholy damage normally. So the fact that we can make that an electric attack is awesome. It still gives you the extra health, by the way, so that doesn't change. So that's still cool. And it's freaking hilarious to see someone get set on fire by Vampiric Touch, or to be frozen, or to be electrified, or whatever you choose for your bloodline. So those 3 spells, all of these are viable options for you. And again, elemental damage would be fire, whether it is or not. Elemental damage would be electric in this case for Lightning Bolt. So again, a use for it, but not enough to write home about. And Vampiric Touch, there is no elemental damage for it. Remember, it doesn't holy damage, but it is a necromancy spell. So if you wanted to be a necrolord, that would be the spell to focus on. You would get a benefit for that. However, in this case, there's no save, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to pick ones that make me feel tanky, so you know I'm grabbing displacement, and then from there, I don't see why I wouldn't grab Vampiric Touch, because extra health is extra health. And again, if I feel like I don't want to do unholy damage, or it doesn't work for whatever reason, maybe they're susceptible to electric. I'll turn my toggle on, zap them. Keep going. Push this a little more than use magic device, because I really need to get persuasion to catch up with the other ones. From here, look for crane stuff, and again, it's not available to 11, but I always check it just to make sure. From there, again, what you feel. I know me, though, I do like point blank shot. We're going to do enough beam attacks where it's going to come in handy, and this is a beam attack, so we need to hit our target. From here, I don't mind Stinking Cloud, Slow, Haste, Fireball, Lightning Bolt, I suppose. Seems kind of trite to pick it when I can do electric attacks through Fireball, so maybe I'll grab Fire. Nah, I'll grab Haste. Extra attack around, baby. You gotta love that. And that does work with Flurry of Blows, even though it's not supposed to, I don't think. Keep going, Magus. This is where I get my Elemental Blast now, which is a big AoE splashing. You would get it at 9, I get it at 10 because of my one level delay thanks to my Monk dip. So you'd have this before me. But that's a really nice, hard-hitting attack. From here, you know I like my Ghost Blade, but Dimension Strike makes an appearance, so does Hasted Assault, and those are valid. And, by the way, many of these are going to be useful when we switch into these elemental forms. We can't cast spells in these forms, or if we use Transformation again. But we do have the ability to use these Magus traits, so you can empower your weapon to set on fire if you have transformed into one of these elemental shapes. You can prescient attack in one of these elemental shapes. You can hasted assault in one of these elemental shapes, and on it goes. The point is that there's more utility than you think here. Feel free to pick what you like. I just want to point out that there is options. I'm not a big fan of these forms. You know I like at least Elemental Body 2 for utility purposes, but I would never really want to change in that as a last minute ditch effort. It's still probably a bad idea. From here, I don't mind Fireball. And the fact that I can make it Electric Fireball is kind of cool. Now, Crane, yep, and that's the last one. Now at this point, if you're not running fighting defensively and with Crane Wing on, or Crane Style, excuse me, on it all the time, I wonder what the hell's wrong with you. It is only a -1 penalty now for your swing. There's no reason not to have this major armor class bump by this point. And you get to reflexively attack the son of a bitch, so that's kind of cool. So I'm grabbing that one now. Level 2. Since I don't have Well, I'll probably get it, but I know I'm going to get another spell, so if I don't think Web is going to be useful yet, I can grab that Scorching Ray and not feel bad about it. Matter of fact, let's do that. We'll grab Web last. Level 4 picks now. Control Fireball works like it should. Dragon's Breath works like it should, so if I use a Fire Dragon's Breath and leave my toggle on, it will become electric damage. Why do you care about that, Brothermutant? Remember, you can use the Electric Dragon's Breath in here. Yes, I can. Remember, the Electric Dragon only has a beam attack. The Cold Dragon in here, your pick, is only a cone attack. So if you want to cast a cold spell that's a beam, you can't do it. If you want to cast an Electric Breath attack, but have it be a cone, you can't do it. Oh wait, I can. I just cast the fire version of it, and just make sure my toggle's on. And remember, this keys off the elemental damage of whatever Dragon's Breath you pick. Doesn't matter if it should or will be electric, it should be fire. And remember, if you're going elemental focus fire, that's a way for you to get your buff again and still do electric damage. Notice that they're all evocations, so that's still going to be a thing. But that's utility. That's what I'm talking about. So we're definitely picking it. Notice that Ice Storm works, but only the cold portion. The bludgeoning stays bludgeoning. The cold can be acid or fire or electric, depending on your background. I don't know about Phantasmal Killer, and I'm not going to try to study it because it's just silly. It's either they save or suck. If they do make the save, though, they will do this 3d6 points of damage. That could work. I don't know, and I don't particularly care. Most of the guys that I'm fighting at this low level die immediately anyway, or they're immune to the effect, so I can't really test it. Shield of Dawn does not work. It's fire damage. It's always fire damage. And while that's a bummer, there's a way around that you'll see here in a bit. Shout, however, does work, and you can shout acid or cold or fire or electric. So there's some utility there. Again, while you may say, well, why bother? It's lame-ass damage, and I got this cool-ass Dragon's Breath. Remember the reflex save here? Notice fortitude save. So if is it a rogue type that you're trying to shoot in the face for some acid damage because you know he's susceptible, you don't want to hit him with a reflex save, because unless your DC check is Amaze Balls, he could reflex out of it and take 0 damage. Or not make the save and still only take half damage. When yes, that's still 66, and that's pretty cool. Here's Shout, 5d6, which isn't anything to write home about, but it could stun him if he fails the Fortitude save. If he doesn't, if he makes the save, he'll still take damage. He doesn't get to reflex his way out of that shit. And I can make it electric in my case, acid or fire or cold in your guys' other cases. Or leave it the way it is and just do sonic damage. But it's up to you. That's my point. So utility. I'm not going to pick it yet. I know me. I'm going to grab Dimension Door. But then I'll get Stone Skin 2 and some other stuff as well. Keep going. More decks. Yes, please. Now, since I have all my crane stuff, this is where you really can shine and do what you feel. Remember, we got 2 Magus feats coming, and we have all these other feats coming up here. So you have 1, 2, 4 more. So you have 6 more things you could do. That's a lot of potential. That's spell focus, greater spell focus, elemental focus, greater elemental focus, and 2 more besides. Or precise shot, weapon focus, all kinds of shit that you get to do. Arcane Strike is still missing. I still haven't gotten Piranha Strike. There's all kinds of ways to make your build at this point. And it's up to you to decide. I can't tell you what to do. I know what I am going to do, though. From here, you know I'm grabbing that magic vessel. Level 4. I'm going to grab... Greater Invis is almost as good as Stone Skin, but I'm going to grab Stone Skin. Keep going. Very nice. Finally getting to the level that I want it to be. From here, I do like weapon focus for my unarmed strike, but I don't have to. Kind of ties you to a weapon when you do that. Improved blind fight's a good option. Improved initiative is a good option. Meta magic's decent. I'm going to grab Piranha Strike, though, because I really need that. Oh, no, I take that back. I'm going to get the Arcane Strike first. Why? Because it's not a penalty to my swing. Remember, this is just free damage. Now, I won't get to the +5 like you guys, because I'm not going to be a 20 level caster. I'm only 19. So I only get to +4. But that's the equivalent then, just so we're clear. That's the equivalent on any weapon I equip. As long as that toggle's running, I get basically a +4 to the damage output, which is the same as having weapon specialization and greater weapon specialization in that weapon. So it's like 2 feats in 1. That's why I say Arcane Strike is pretty sweet. From here, I'm going to go for... What am I going to go for? Dimension Strike, Appreciation Attack. Oh, Maximize Magic. There we go, baby. Extra damage. Really nice on those vampiric touches that I want to electrify. I'm going to go for here. Shout. Then push that. Now you'll notice that I have 2 more points in Dexterity coming my way, right? That'll push this to 22. Now this is done, because this will be officially at level 20. It'll be 20, and I'm fine with that. So I'm going to push more into Persuasion and use Magic Device. And then from there, when I finally catch up Persuasion and I don't really need a ton and use Magic Device, I'll probably push it into, like, I don't know, Arcana. Because it makes sense to me. But you can do you. Here, Stinking Cloud or Slow is amazing. Either or, not telling you what to pick. You have 1 more pick coming, though, so you can get both. Dispel Magic's okay. Lightning Bolt, again, is fine. But again, you're lightening it up all over the place, so who cares? Here, Acidic Spray works. However, again, much like Acid Arrow, the first tick works. The second tick, which is a possible tick only if they fail their reflex save, goes back to being acid, just so we're clear. Cone of Cold works fine. Fire Snake works fine. And again, you can make Electric Fire Snake where, again, it doesn't hurt your team. Weirdly, Vampiric Shadow Shield works. And this is the only one that I know of that works where you can set it, you know, when you cast it on yourself, as long as that toggle was on when you cast it, it becomes electric damage for the duration of the spell. you still heal from it just like you normally would, but the bastards strike you instead of taking whatever the damage is. I think it's negative energy damage. They literally take electric or fire, acid or cold. How funny is that shit? And again, think about how fun it would be to play an earth elemental and have basically an acid shield around you. That's pretty badass. I'm just saying. So that's a nice one. And again, honorable mention for that. Cloud Kill, of course, is amazing, but it's con damage, so not electric or fire or anything like that, so that won't work. And by the way, the elemental damage that you do in this form, you know, from your fist or your weapon, that doesn't change either. So just so we know. And again, we get it for free, so don't bother picking. I'm just letting you know that you're not going to change the fire damage in your elemental form to acid or electric or anything like that. Just turn into that other form. I'm going to take acidic spray, as you know, and I'll grab vampiric shell shield because it's cool. Now, things like weapon focus again are appealing. I'm still missing my piranha strike. I'll probably grab that, because why the hell not? I'm grabbing that web spell, as you know. That finishes off everything I need for level 2. Cloud Kill is nice, and again, acidic spray at this point is kind of repetitive with things like Fire Snake and Cone of Cold. Cone of Cold is just a nicer cone, so I suppose I'll grab that over Fire Snake, but I'll get all of them. More decks. Almost caught up. Here, you know I like my Bane Blade, but again, Hasted, Assault, Prescient Attack, Dimension Strike are all valid. Okay. Now, you can do what you feel. You still have this feat, that feat, and this feat here still coming. So I still got 3 feats to work with here. That's quite a bit. If I really wanted to be a beamer, I suppose I could still fit it in. I could do Weapon Focus Ray, Weapon Specialization Ray, and then get Point Blank Master Ray. That seems dumb. So I'm not going to do that. I am, however, going to grab... Make sure I'm not missing anything. Toughness, maybe. I could get a Meta Magic. There's nothing wrong with that. By the way, if you want to be a DC build, you should probably get Heightened Meta Magic. Amazing Meta Magic. I will grab Weapon Focus, Unarmed Strike. I know I'm going to use them. I might as well be good at them. We'll grab Greater Viz. Now for level 6, this is where it gets weird. Acid Fog doesn't work. It's always acid damage. Sirocco doesn't work. It's always fire damage, which is weird. I think they may have just been last-minute additions and they forgot to code them where they will do the fire or the electric or the cold or the whatever. But I wasn't expecting Acid Fog to tick, tick, tick like crazy anyway. I expected the first blast to be electric in my case, and then the rest be acid. And same with Sirocco. I expected it to be electric for the first strike, and then fire, fire, fire. But sadly, it doesn't do that. It's always fire, it's always acid. It just never changes. But it's not that you shouldn't pick those spells. Chain Lightning does work. I can't show that to you because I'm lightning already, but it does work, and if you want to see some fun, blast somebody with an acid Chain Lightning sometime, because that shit's hilarious. Disintegrate, oddly, does work. I don't know why you'd want to switch it, but I suppose it's cool. Hellfire Ray works, which is beautiful, and so does Umbral Strike, which is weird because it's cold / negative energy. If I switch it, it will do electric and electric energy for both attacks. I don't know what that's about. Still cool. Now, I don't know that you need to pick all 3 of those because Hellfire Ray is the clear winner here. But I suppose there's reasons to. Again, if you didn't go Evocation for your school and were a Necrolord, well, here you go. Here's one that buffs it. If you went cold versus fire, here's another one that, again, you buff it because it's got that cold descriptor. It doesn't actually say it, but it is. So cold damage and necromancy are cool ways to buff this spell for the DC check. There is a DC check on this one. These ones there's no save at all. It's just straight up damage. But there's a blind effect of this one, which is cool. Disintegrate has a save. a fortitude save. Got good range on it, so again, maybe that's important. And again, transmutation versus evocation. So you see how we have 3 different schools here for a nice beam attack at level 6. It's up to you to decide what you want. I know me, Hellfire Ray is amazing, and I know that Acid Fog and Sirocco are amazing, so I'm just going to pick them just out of hand. But transformation is also important, so maybe I should pick that up before I forget it. Looking good. Now I can go greater weapon focus for my unarmed strike. I can do improved critical, so my unarmed strike will crit on a 19 or 20. That seems kind of lame. I can do weapon specialization and get a +2 to my unarmed strike damage. There's other stuff though that's appealing in here as well. Critical focus, so you're more likely to crit. You challenge it more often. I can still do elemental focus or spell focus. Remember, I'm here, so I get to pick my Magus feat, and then I still have a level 19 feat to pick, so I have 2. So I can get spell focus evocation and greater spell focus evocation if I wanted to still. I could do the elemental stuff if I wanted to still, so let's actually do that. Elemental focus, fire, like I said I would. And I'm going to pick slow. And also I should point out that Dragonkind has no impact on the breath damage that you do by having that toggle on. If it's a fire dragon that you turn into, you will do fire damage. If it's an electric dragon you turn into, then you do electric damage. So that toggle won't do shit. I just felt like mentioning it to you just in case you thought it might. No, it doesn't do anything. I will take Sirocco. Now, it's looking pretty nice too. I will grab Greater Elemental Focus Fire. So now I have a +2 to my DC checks. And I'm just going to grab Prescient Attack, I suppose. And there's no wrong answer here. But again, the point is there's stuff that's better than others. And let's grab some True Seeing. Why not? Now, here's where you guys would have had this last level. Now I'm getting it because it is my last level. My 6 free picks, and this is going to open up a can of oh shit. So let's pay attention to what we're doing here. That's basically my build. And again, really nice trickery, okay mobility, athletics kind of sucks, stealth is kind of crap. It's only because my dex is so high that I actually have anything going for that. Really nice perception, really nice persuasion, and a decent enough use magic device that you can use many things. Of course, we can buff all these things with gear and spells, so the maximum you could puff any of these numbers up are another +5 for the modifier. So I could have a +5 to strength, a +11 to dex, +7 to con, +6 for intelligence, +5 to wisdom, and a +8 to charisma, if I really build the right way. So that's still a possibility. And that increase all those, that increases my armor 2 different ways because of dex and charisma, more health because of more con, more fortitude, more reflexes, more will saves. You get the idea. So by no stretch of the imagination a gimmick build. My last level 5 pick will be Fire Snake. And again, you could have convinced me to take that sooner, especially if I went Elemental Focus Fire and Greater Elemental Focus Fire sooner. Because while Cone of Cold, I like the big cone, having the DC land more often than not would make more sense. So I can see you picking that sooner than later. That's on you. But again, I wasn't convinced that I was going to do that yet. Now for all the free picks that we get from 1 through 6, let's go through every spell 1 through 6. Well, not every. All the new ones that have the potential for elemental damage. Ear Piercing Scream. You can change the damage type. And this is an auto hit move. Yes, they can fortitude save for half damage, but those reflexing ninja bastards don't get to evade out of that shit. They're still going to take damage, and that could be an acid Ear Piercing Scream. So it's on you, again, depending on what elemental background you pick. But still pretty cool, and I can see the use of it. From there, I don't think there's anything else that strikes out as being damage. So it shouldn't be anything else that you could buff or not buff that you didn't see already before. From here, level 2 stuff. Some decent stuff in the fact that Bone Shaker works. Again, an auto hit move and scales well. Now, I don't know why you'd want to change the damage type, but if perhaps maybe you wanted to down a troll that needs some acid damage. Here you go, baby. Auto hit move, and you just turn on your little acid toggle and pow. Now, of course, you have to be an earth elemental to get that to work. Sorry, I need a little sip of milk here. But I could still see the use of this. And again, it scales well, so why not? Notice Burning Arc works. And again, I could be using the watered down version of Chain of Lightning here, is what this is for me, by me zapping it through. And remember, I have Elemental Focus Fire and Greater Elemental Focus Fire, so my DC check on this will be based off of fire, so it is a better chance for it to land. Other stuff like... nope, that's it. Stone Call we already had access to, and there's nothing that it does. Sense Vital should work like normal, so just whatever normal damage you do. And the Create Pit is just bludgeoning damage, if I'm not mistaken, so that's like normal as well. I should point that out to you, just in case you were curious. Battering Blast at level 3 doesn't work. It does force damage just like a magic missile and stays that way, so no reason not to pick it though, but I'm just saying it's not going to change to your elemental type. Spiked Pit, again, is bludgeoning / piercing damage, and again, nothing should change. Level 4. We get stuff like Acid Pit, and I can't tell you if it works. I can't imagine that it does. And the reason I say this is because everyone's dying from the bludgeoning damage. There's no chance for me to strike them with the electrified or the acid part of this spell. So I don't know. If you test it and you know, feel free to post down in the comments down below, but I'm not going to waste my time trying to figure it out. I can't imagine it does, and I say that because every time acid has been one of those where it ticks. The first tick is the important one, and it won't tick on the first one because that's bludgeoning damage. Then on the second round, that's when acid will kick in. By then I got a feeling that your electric will have fallen off of it, so it goes back to being acid. That's my guess. Bone Shatter does work. Again, auto hit move, scales well, maximum damage at 15d6, and it has a fortitude save, and even if they make the save, they become tired. You can see the benefit of this one. Enervation doesn't do any damage per se, so it's not worth using the electric or the fire or the whatever toggle. But it's still a good spell. Obsidian Flow does work. It takes the fire damage and turns it into electricity in my case. And I already mentioned Phantasmal Killer. I don't know what it does, but it's not worth me testing because, again, it's lame-ass damage. But if you know better, again, feel free to post that down below. Other than that, Touch of Slime, again, doesn't do damage. It's con damage, so again, it shouldn't work on it. Volcanic Storm does work, again, just like for Ice Storm. I wouldn't imagine why you would pick it, but again, if you wanted to, you can. But the fire damage would get converted. The bludgeoning damage stays the same. From there, level 5 stuff, this is where it gets really trippy. So we have Constricting Coils. It's bludgeoning damage, stays bludgeoning damage, no change. Genie Kind. This is a spell I think they quite frankly should have given us, and I will pick it because it's a good spell. You can cast spells in this form. It doesn't last very long, but it's a nice buff, and you can pick any of the 4 genie types. So you have acid, or electric, or fire, or cold resistance. And your unarmed strikes, or your melee attacks, will get extra damage based on what genie type of damage you do. It has no impact on your toggle. Your toggle won't do shit for this. But it's a nice buff, and there's a lot of shit you get for that buff. So you get a nice bump to your con, which of course you'll be out-leveled with magic spells or magic belts, but still it's there. You get a nice bonus to your natural armor bonus, and that's kind of cool. And then again, you get a nice little saving throw bonus to paralysis, poison, sleep, and stunning effects, and that's for all of them, so that's pretty cool. And again, if I want some resistance for fire, because I'm not a fire guy, here's a way to get it for cheap. And then I do fire damage with my attacks. So, kind of cool. From there, Hungry Pit does like you think it does, or it just does physical damage and therefore has no impact on your toggle. Icy Prison, on the other hand, you would hope it would work. It does not. The reason I believe on this one is because just like the acid and the fire ones where there's ticks, the first tick being the one that changes and every tick after being back to normal. This one, the first round you impact them with this, there's no damage. They're just held. And then on the second round, again, if they continue to fail, they take cold damage. Well, you would think the cold damage would change, but that's technically the second tick, right? The second round that they're affected by the spell, and it goes back to being cold damage. That's my guess, anyway, for why it stays cold. So, still a great spell, and again, if you want cold for your elemental focus, here's another one that really has a save to it. So again, evocation cold spells are good choices. Just saying, there's no reason not to pick it, but I'm saying it doesn't change the damage type. Shadow Evocation does work for all 5 spells. So fireballs can be changed, lightning bolts can be changed, shout can be changed, volcanic storm, just the fire component, and the ice storm, just the cold component, can be changed. But it still works like you would expect it, so that's kind of cool. And that's basically it. Now we go all the way up to level 6 and get a plethora of crap. Banshee Blast does work. It is sonic damage normally, and then it switches to whatever type you're talking about. But it's lane damage, and I can't see it being that cool. If you're a Necromancer, I suppose this could be a reason to pick it. Because of the saves, I'm not, and there's 2 saves, which makes it worse in my opinion. But your mileage may vary. Alright, Chopbot Chain Lightning, it does work, just in case you're wondering. Circle of Death, I don't know that it works. Because there's no one that's 9 HD or higher that I've tested it on. So that 100 damage could work. I don't know that that matters. If it's living and they would have taken damage, they're going to take damage. Poof, 100 damage. Who cares if it's electric or not? But I suppose Cold Eye Strike, on the other hand, does work. And again, another cold evocation spell that's really nice, hard hitting. And again, being able to turn it into an instant acid in your face, or fire, or electric with that swift action move is pretty damn badass. So again, I'm going to pick that one just because. We already talked about Disintegrate working. Elemental Assessor works weirdly because it's normally all these different elemental types. If I turn on my toggle, it's all electric damage. All 4 hits, pop, 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 and this rolls randomly 2d6 4 times. And then again, it'll do 4d6, I'm assuming, with the tick, tick, ticks of whatever type it should have been. But I haven't seen that because they usually die from that 4d6 of electric damage. And that's just as funny. I don't know if Serenity works. That's something you guys can test and let me know. But it's kind of lame. It's an AoE move. It's teammate friendly, so that's nice. But again, it's one of those where it's not doing damage. They do damage as they attack you. That doesn't mean it won't work. But I'm still happy with the 3d6 of damage that they would normally take anyway. So why does it have to be fire, electric, cold, or acid? I don't know. But again, it probably is something that won't work, is my guess. And I haven't tested Tarpool, but since Tarpool behaves just like Obsidian Flow with the fire damage initial, I'm assuming since Obsidian Flow does work that this one does too. And again, notice again, fire spell, but also transmutation, not evocation. So there's plenty of spells, again, like I said, outside of the evocation where fire still works. There's plenty of spells in evocation that are cold. So again, you don't have to pick evocation and fire just to be flavor of the month. There's plenty of options out there. But if I'm going to go with spells that I'm going to pick for this build, I'm telling you, of course, I'm going to grab stuff like Greater Heroism. Gotta buff myself, man. I don't mind, where would it go? It was level 5, wasn't it? I love my Icy Prison. I don't mind even Constricting Coils, but there's kind of overlap there where I just don't need both. Shadow Evocation could still make a strong case for me. I suppose, since I'm running solo, it wouldn't bother me to have Sense Vitals. And then from there, really, just kind of whatever I feel. Burning Arc could be good. Again, Bone Shaker is nice for that guaranteed damage, which is pretty sweet now. What else we have at like level 6 that sticks out? Hulk of Dreams can be kind of fun. No teammates around and everybody goes to sleep. It's kind of an interesting spell. I don't know. I guess Eye Bite, simply because it will work, guaranteed that it's going to have an effect on the bad guys. You know, and again, it's a toggle. Something like that. That's how I would go. And I'm not going to show you gameplay footage because you guys know how to do all that stuff. But again, a couple quick things just to point out. One is don't forget your toggle. This little guy here is actually over in here somewhere, right there. So just make sure to drag him out there. Make sure that you know how to use your Elemental Ray and, of course, your Elemental Blast. Remember, these are spell-like effects, but they still behave like spells. So when you turn into those elemental forms where you can't cast spells, or you do the transformation spell where, again, you can't cast spells, that includes these two. That doesn't mean that I don't get to do stuff like Prescient Attack, Stunning Fist, Extended Magic, I can't do that, or Maximize Magic, there's no point. I could buff my weapon, though, turn it into a speed weapon, a fire weapon, a ghost weapon, or whatever. That's still applicable because it's not a spell. So you have all kinds of cool shit you still get to do in these forms. Other things to note, your toggle works on things like Acid Splash and Ray of Frost. I don't know that it works on Disrupt Undead. I don't know why you would care, because this will only work on Undead and it does damage, so why would you switch the damage type? But again, you could try it, I don't know. So the point is, if you try this on the Undead and you see electric damage flying off, then you'll know why. Oh shit, it works. I don't know, I haven't found an Undead to try it on. But other things to point out here is, again, because I'm fighting in unarmed strikes, I get double hits with my Shocking Grasp, or my Acid Touch one, or my Frigid Touch, or my Vampiric Touch. Again, I'll do the punch to the face, and then you'll see Vampiric Touch go off twice. And yes, could be electric if I so choose, so I just need to make sure the toggle stays on. So that's kind of weird. Notice, of course, then for the Vampiric Touch, the second hit will be the number that you get for the bonus HP. It doesn't matter if it's the highest, doesn't matter if it's the lowest, doesn't matter if it's the same. It's because it's the second hit. It replaces the last hit. So if you hit them, you'll hit them twice. And this, in my opinion, is one of the reasons to go Monk. Because again, while people are like, oh, you don't crit more often. I don't need to crit. I'm still getting 2 swings with my Vampiric Touch. And they could hit for maximum if I maximize them with a rod, for instance. And they could still crit. So I could literally get 120 damage twice in a combat round just from using Vampiric Touch once. You can't do that. I'm just saying. So I kind of dig it, and hence the reason for the Monk dip. There's plenty of stuff though here. Again, don't forget to shrink yourself down because you have extra defense, extra armor, extra ability to hit because you're weapon finessing / raise zipping. Of course, if I rest up to get all my spells back, just to show you some stuff. I'm not going to show you combat. I'm just saying spells per day kind of things. You got plenty of spells per day, even with level 19 casting. You're not quite as cool as the level 20, obviously. But I do like the fact that I have all that uber armor. You don't have to get rid of your rapier. You don't have to wear armor. And again, I just want to show it to you here. He usually has them. Yeah. Amulet of Agile Fist will be your friend if you're a dexterity-based monk type, because you add your dex bonus now. This is the only way that I know that you can do this, because there is no punching finesse ability. So just like Slashing Grace and Fencing Grace and Slashing Grace takes your dexterity and applies it to your weapon, this is the same general principle here. But yes, you have to use it as a next slot. Now the good news is, not only is there Agile Fists necklace, which are cheap-ish, there's also Agile Fists +1, +2, plus whatever. And as you see them, they will give you attack bonus and damage bonus to your punches again. So again, there's decent reasons for taking this. The downside then again of this is that I can't wear like Amulets of Natural Armor +5. That's kind of a bummer. But then again, there's ways around that. Notice again that there's Nunchaku, and again, notice how it's finessable, and it's a monk weapon, so I get a flurry of blow with it, and I get my dex bonus too. So I could have gone Nunchakus. There's plenty here anyway, not necessarily in the main game, but I could have just as easily have gone for, let me show you to you in the names, under Masterwork, it's just easier. Monk weapons include things also like commas. There's enough of them in the game that's useful, and you still get your flurry of blows, and it's finessable, so I still get my dex bonus. I could have gone, where's my favorite? Size, for some stabby, pointy, stabbiness. It's lame-ass damage, but it's super fun to flurry of blows that. And there's a couple really good ones in the game. There's one in particular that's like instead of a speed weapon, you know, that gives you like an extra attack around, it's a greater speed weapon, which means it gives you 2 extra attack around. So imagine that thing, plus flurry of blows, plus haste. Well, I probably won't buff with haste, but the point is there would be 2 attacks, flurry of blows would be a 3rd attack, then your regular 3 attacks after that. So you can get 6 attacks in a round with 1 Sai in your hand. That's pretty cool. And then if you did the transformation on yourself where you had a bigger BAB increase, 6 attacks now jumps up to 7. That shit's funny. I'm just saying. And that's not two-handed wielding or nothing where you literally have a penalty to your swing. No, sir. That's with 1 Sai in your hand and your ability to cast spells into your Sai and attack with it, or cast spells to buff, or cast spells to attack, and then still attack 6 to 7 times in a round. That shit's funny. Of course, Quarterstaff still works because it's a monk weapon, so we can, again, use Flurry of Blows. But again, it's a strength-based one, so we don't get any bonus to our swing because our dex character, not a strength character. That's on you. But I like the dex for my hitting. I like it for my ranged attacks as well as my melee attacks, and I like it for my armor. So there's a lot of utility out of dex. And that's the only other monk weapons that I can think of. So, having said all that, I know this video has been long, guys, but one last little thing for your forms. Notice that they are different, obviously stronger, you would think, as you go up in level. So level 1s are suck ass, level 2s the ones that I like. Air gets a nice dexterity bonus, fire gets a nice dexterity bonus, strength bonus for earth, and a lot of natural armor bonus, hint hint wink wink. But also, water, weirdly, is the con one, a high concentration or constitution bonus, which seems weird to me that it's con, not dexterity again. And it carries on for the higher level one, the level 3 stuff that I normally don't turn into. Notice instead of getting more dexterity, suddenly you get strength for air. Notice instead of getting more dexterity for fire, you become better at con. And then water gets a nice strength bonus, but a penalty to dex, which that's stupid. Then earth, again, gets even more strength and con, but a penalty to dex. So again, I don't like the level 3 versions because I'm not getting more dexterity each time. If I was getting more dexterity or strength even each time, that would be worth it to me. But I'm not. They're spreading the bonuses around way too much. That's why I'm not a big fan of level 3. And again, the fact you can't cast spells in it. Now, you do get 2 attacks around in these forms, and they tell you as much. Like if you literally, if you look at the spell in your spell book, let's see if it'll tell me. No, it doesn't. Damn it. So I actually have to turn into a different form. So let's do it. Well, let's go Earth. Yeah. Do that thing where you cast a spell on yourself, you doofus. Okay, so here's the level 3 version of Elemental Body as the Earth form. Notice some things. I get 2 attacks. That's it. There is no flurry of blows here. I could do Hasted Assault. That would work. I could have cast Haste on myself earlier. That would work again for this primary attack. That's a thing. I can buff my weapons still as a Magus, so I can, but it'd only be this weapon, not both. Remember, one hand, not both hands. So you could get something of a buff, but that's basically it. And then notice, while I still have a penalty to Dex, I have a nice increase to Strength and a nice increase to Con, and those are polymorph effects, not enhancements. Same with this one. So again, a belt of +8 Strength, +8 Dex, and +8 Con would still work for those +8s. No penalties or competition there. Point is, though, if I was wearing armor, you wouldn't see my armor as high as it is right now. The only reason it's as high as it is because of Earth giving me that nice natural armor bonus that you see there at the +6. I still get, of course, my Dex bonus, and I still get my Charisma bonus for being Monk. That's the reason that Monk is viable here. If I was relying on Plate Mail, that Plate Mail would now not be in effect, and I would be screwed and quite pissed, quite frankly. Notice, of course, I'm also taking a size penalty for being the bigger form. Another reason why I hate level 3. So not only do I have less armor thanks to my lower dex, I have less armor thanks to my bigger size. Less armor because of my bigger size. So again, 2 penalties to my armor. What the hell are you doing to me, guys? So that would be a bad form to pick. Now, of course, you do have the ability to switch back. That's this little button here. Turn back when you're done, or whatever. I'm tired of it. I misclicked it. You can pick a different one. One that I would pick would probably be fire. I know it seems weird for the electric guy to pick the fire one, but let me tell you why. Here's our buff. Notice what you get here. We got a size bonus to dex, not an enhancement bonus, so that would stack with my belt still. Size bonus to dex, con bonus as well, another polymorph effect. So extra HP and fortitude besides. So fortitude and reflexes have never looked better. Notice some other stuff we get here. Some natural armor bonus, not as good as earth, so that's the thing. I'm resistant to fire now. I am vulnerable to cold. I get to add burn to my attack, so you'll see fire damage hit those guys randomly for each attack that I smack them with. I still only get 2 attacks again. Notice my speed went up. And this speed will stack, by the way, for the fire element bloodline, where you remember they get the +30 I told you about way back at the beginning of this video. So instead of having a 60, those bastards would actually have an 80 under this form. That's some zippy motherfucker, because 50 is pretty goddamn spry. I mean, I kind of zip all over the place here. And it will stack with Expeditious Retreat, by the way, so I can literally get that to just fly right along, so I can be just as zippy as that fire bloodline guy. But that's a pretty goddamn cool form. And again, I'm not really happy about the fact that I have the penalty because of my size. Remember, this is the bigger, the level 3 version. That's why I like, just to show it to you, that's why I like using the level 2 version. That's these guys here. And again, I'll just do the ear to show you something slightly different. So that's the normal size, so no plus or minuses based on size. So nothing weird going on there. I still have my charisma bonus, my dex bonus, and I got a little bit of a bump to dex. Not a little, a +4, that's pretty decent. And again, it's a polymorph, not an enhancement. So that's nice. Only one attack though, and that's a real drag. But again, you do this, in my opinion, not because of the extra attacks. You do it because of the fact that you're immune to something, right? In this case, high electricity resistance, which I didn't need anyway. But you may if you went, fire bloodline or earth bloodline. You get the idea. But again, that's why I like the middle ground ones. And again, I still have a really nice armor class and a decent touch armor class, and that's without me having buffed up like I should have, like shield spell, reduced person, mage armor if you have it in a wand form or a scroll or a potion, all works. Braces of armor class +8 would be a good option. Monk robes where you have a high dodge because of the monk robe. Remember, if you go monk, you need to be lawful. Doesn't matter which kind of lawful, but you have to be lawful at some point there. So don't start off like I did with Magus, Eldritch Scion, and forget to pick lawful something, because you won't be able to do this monk scaled fist build. Other stuff to point out though, let's actually switch back and talk about one last little thing, and it is your cool spell, the one that I picked up late, of course. This is your genie kind spell. Notice these little bastards, because you can cast spells in these forms. They don't last long, so of course I would do something like, where's it at? Extend, and then cast one of these, so I doubled the duration. Now the choice is, do you want to do acid damage? Do you want to do cold damage, fire damage, or electric damage with your unarmed strikes or your melee weapon? It's up to you, but pick now. So if I need to kill a troll and I'm out of acid spells, well, here's one right here that I could have used. And they just change your appearance, so you're basically an earth elemental hybrid kind of thing. With my little dirt clods kicking off me. But if you look at my attacks, nothing's changed. I still have my 4 attacks. My flurry of blows is still valid. I have a nice bonus to con, but it's an enhancement, so chances are that's not going to matter to you. But I also get, it doesn't show it here, but a 1d6 extra acid damage to every punch. So that's nice. Or it could have been fire or cold. Again, those are not transmutable with this effect. There's other stuff you get, of course. You get your +2 to fortitude, blah blah blah. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in these. Your +2 racial bonus for saving throws against paralysis, poison, sleep, stunning effects. +4 natural armor bonus. I didn't even see that. I was too busy talking. Yeah, right there. Nice +4 to your armor. Again, really nice. And again, I think you still get to wear armor, so none of that has changed. But this is the exception to the rule, because you didn't switch out of your human form. You're still human, so to speak. Or mortal, I guess. But again, I think you guys will have fun with this. Again, pay attention to the DC checks if that's your thing. Know how those DC checks work. And with that, please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.